Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, bringing you to today another little bit of a deck template today, which I might as well just call a deck profile at this point to be honest, but I just want to get across the point that this is just simply an idea and a bit of a, skeleton for you guys to go off of, and you guys are free to navigate it and, amend as you wish. But regardless, this is going to be the Lunalight Orcust deck that I've been working on for this upcoming format. Obviously, a lot of things have changed with the January 2020 ban list. We lost Azathoth, which is a big deal. But other than that, obviously losing Harp kind of lowers your ceiling very slightly, but you still have access to pretty much the same power plays that you did last format. Curious is still an insane card that honestly probably should have gotten hit on the ban list, but surprisingly didn't. And yeah, the ceiling of this deck is still pretty high, and you were able to do most of the same boards as you were able to last format. If you have a pretty strong hand, you can end on Appaloosa plus rank 4 plus IP and Babel. Or if you don't have the resources, because now it requires one extra extender to do that play, since we lost Harp that gave you the extra body, you just end on Crescendo instead, and that's pretty good anyways, especially in a game 2 and 3 scenario when you're trying to negate things like evenly matched and stuff, Dark Ruler, things of that nature. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and run over the deck list and kind of just explain my thought process as far as my approach to the build moving forward. So without further ado, we have 3 Chick, 3 Tiger, 2 Martin, and 1 Emerald Bird. I think this is the staple 9 Lunalights that everybody should run, and everyone should know what these cards do by now. Yeah, every time I build a Lunalight deck, I start up with these 9 plus the Zephyros, so these 10. I think that these should be in pretty much every Lunalight build. People still want to cut Emerald Bird in some instances, but just the more you play with this deck, the more you kind of recognize its inherent value in various spots, either in breaking you or getting you out of late game situations or getting your resources back. It just does a lot of things that are pretty undervalued in a lot of games. Like maybe it won't matter in a majority of the games, but in the games where it comes up, it counts a lot. So you definitely need it, even with the loss of Nyarla. Then we have Armageddon Knight, which is just kind of the additional normal summon that I like to include. I thought about using Greffer and Rhoda again, but I didn't really feel that they were necessary because it contributed to normal summons, which can kind of clog the deck. The deck can brick by either drawing none of its Lunalight cards or too many, which you have to kind of find that happy medium, which is a little bit hard at times. But I think that just the one Armageddon Knight's fine because it's just the most flexible. Then you have 3 Mothman, 2 Danger Jackalope, 2 Tsuchinoko, and 1 Nessie for the Danger package. This didn't change apart from the fact that obviously Nessie went to 1, so I supplemented it with the 3rd Mothman. I feel like apart from drawing multiple Mothman, this is pretty fine. Even if you draw multiple Mothman, it's fine because you have enough cards that want to be in the graveyard anyway, so getting that graveyard set up early is pretty good. And it's still level 4, which helps you make 4 Strix, and that is pretty integral to a lot of the combos nowadays. And I was thinking about Chupacabra, but I felt like because it has the potential to kind of just not get you any value if it's the only danger in your hand and it misses, that is a big detriment, and I want my cards to be live at all stages of the game if possible. So I decided to just not incorporate it. Plus the fact that Nessie is at 1 means that there's other kind of niche dangers like Chupacabra, Bigfoot, Thunderbird. Those are it doesn't really make sense to include those when you only have 1 search option and itself is not searchable anymore. So or not, it wasn't ever searchable, but you get what I mean. So yeah, with the search options being limited, you don't have a reliable way to make those as plays that you can have access to at any given moment. So I decided to just to play the cards that would just be good all the time. Then the interesting part, I think, is the Orcust ratios in particular. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this, and there's a lot of freedom for creativity or debate or just changing in general. But right now I'm on 2 Nightmare, 1 World Wand, and 1 Symbol Skeleton. There are times where I've thought about changing numbers on all 3 of these. I thought about bumping Symbol to 2. I thought about putting Nightmare to 1 or 3. I thought about bumping World Wand up to 2. But in the end, I've decided that this is fine because I'm going for a minimalistic sort of package, but just with the freedom to kind of play around certain spots. that you might find yourself in. So, for example, like some people are experimenting with not playing Symbol at all, which I think is incorrect. Because if you play just say one Nightmare and one World Wand and really take that minimalistic message to the max and just like try and go all the way that way, the problem is that when you send Nightmare off Curious, you have a not a high chance, but a like fair chance to mill the World Wand, and in that case, you actually just can't activate any Orcust effects, so you don't have access to your engine. And one of the biggest weaknesses of Lunalight Orcust is carrying from last format is the fact that like if you don't have access to play with your Orcust cards. For example, if your Curious gets impermanenced, or the situation I just described with a Nightmare and then milling the Wand, you now have a bunch of extra deck cards that don't contribute to any of the plays that you're doing until you're able to draw into the engine again. And if you're playing a minimalist account, then the odds of that happening are very low. So and if like the milling both of them happens, you just literally can never play Orcust cards. So I just felt that that was really not the way to go. So you obviously have to play at least one symbol, in my opinion. And then the second Nightmare is like debatably cuttable, but I felt like, just having more versatility of being able to just have more names in circulation so you can cycle through your Orcusts more effectively with Galatea and the World Wand and stuff. I just think that like it helps to have a duplicate name so that like you can always like prioritize the one that you're missing. So like you're never forced to really choose like between one or the other when you need both, because like you have the second one in circulation regardless. So that's kind of the reasoning for that. The argument for bumping it up to 3 is that like if your Curious gets impermed, like you could theoretically pitch it off Barricade or pitch it off Perfume and play through like an interrupt on Curious, which is pretty appealing. But I'm not trying to play too many Orcust names. You could even play Brass Bombard theoretically, but I think at that point you would just play pure Orcust instead. So I just opt not to do that. So then we have 3 Tenki, 3 Perfume, 1 Foolish, 3 Foolish Goods. These 10 spells I think are pretty staple. And then 3 Call by the Grave. You are more vulnerable, especially to the early stage hand traps, things like Ash on like a Perfume Search or a DD Crow on a Martin. So like all these types of things can definitely hinder your plays, and you need to be able to be safe from those. Obviously, it doesn't hurt like the big hand traps that are going to hurt you now, like Nibiru and Impermanence, but you just kind of have to take that sacrifice when playing this deck. Then we have the Babel, which I guess is arguably cuttable, but I think that IP gives a good enough payoff to where it's justified. The thing is that like in like game one scenarios, this kind of just helps in more spots where like you're able to just do more on your opponent's turn. Because like the standard Lunalight board of like Appaloosa plus rank 4 plus Crescendo, it's a fine board, but it's crackable. But I think that like Appaloosa plus rank 4 plus IP and Babel is not by no means unbeatable, but it's actually a lot stickier. So I feel like this is just, I appreciate this more in a lot of instances in game 1, but games 2 and 3 when you're trying to play around side cards, definitely Crescendo is a good way to go. Then we got Upstart because I just actually needed a 40th card and I couldn't really think of anything else that would be a good replacement. Like people sometimes play card destruction, but I just don't think that card is that good in this deck, to be perfectly honest. Like triggering certain effects is nice, like dangers and like Lunalights and stuff, but the fact that it can like actually help your opponent as well is kind of a big turnoff for me for a card that isn't like a super auto win card. It's like not a soul charge or anything. Then we got Crescendo, of course, and then Serenade Dance. So the extra deck is Dweller, which I still think is a format staple with Orcust running around, and Spiral as well. Daigusto Emerald, which is pretty cool because you don't have Harp Horror anymore, you're more susceptible to just running out of steam in your graveyard. Like you can definitely turbo through your like Orcust pieces very quickly and just not have enough activations to survive through the remainder of the game. Like normally you end the game, like if you go first, you normally end the game the following turn, but if you can't and it goes into like your turn 3, that's when Emerald can kind of come up to recycle some of those Orcust pieces to help get your engine back online. We have Dingirsu, of course, Evil Swarm Nightmare, which is really good in undefined formats against the combo decks. We have Force Strix for the searchability of your extender. And then we have Tornado Dragon, again, utility that is very unrivaled in the rank 4 pool. Appaloosa, which you commonly make after Curious. Barricade to get rid of Zephyrs in the most basic combos where you have just Chick Tiger and no extension, which is very rare because like most of your deck's extension. But yeah, in the basic 2-card combo, you do need Barricade to pitch Zephyros, and then some hands where you don't open like Goods, Perfume, or a way to get Serenade Engrave. You just have to have it to get the Zephyros out of your hand at sometimes. So yeah, we got the Barricade, or sorry, we got Borosword, obviously, Curious, IP, Galatea, Longirsu. Longirsu is kind of cuttable because now that you don't have Harp, you don't have that free extra name to utilize off Babel. So you like getting the interrupt on your opponent's turn off the IP into Longirsu comes up less. It's still nice going second, so like that's why I have it in here tentatively. But this is, I think, the flex spot if anything. Then we have Phoenix and Unicorn, and then the side deck is kind of like Cookie Cutter, which I never really recommend. I know it's kind of hypocritical of me because I'm always one to sort of just analyze the specific format that we're in, but we're in a very undefined format still, and I think that until we get more information and statistics and data on certain events and what decks are actually good and seeing a lot of play, it's safe to run stuff for combo decks and then for backrow decks. So tentatively, my picks have been Droll, Nibiru, and then Twin and Evenly. And then the interesting card in here is the Eagle Booster. So this I was testing actually in the main for a little bit, and it's really interesting because the two main choke points of this deck are now Force Strix and Curious, now that Azathoth's banned. So you're susceptible to like Ash, Veil, or Imperm on these cards, and the cool thing is that you can make these cards in the extra monster zone with no monsters in your main zone very, very easily. So Eagle Booster actually is very nice to be able to just stop those cards. Imperm in particular is really cool. Call by the Grave I feel is more versatile in a lot of spots, but Eagle Booster is like extra insurance if you really want that. This is kind of just a funny idea, so you don't by any means have to play it, and 3 might be too much. So you can feel free to play something like Red Reboot or like Dark Ruler No More, Pankratops, Mind Control, all of these types of cards, and you're generally going to be pretty fine in any case. But yeah, that's actually going to be it, and I think that this is a pretty, solid starting point if you want to try and continue playing Lunalight Orcust. I do think it's a good variant to play. I just think that the Time Thief build, which is, spoiler alert, the build that I've been hyping up a bit, is like a really, really cool option, and I think that has a lot of versatility. Is it better than this deck? I can't definitively say yes, but I do think that it has very, very strong cases for being a meta contender. But yeah, you can go ahead and stay tuned for that video. Hopefully, the goal for me is to go to Sneak Peek this weekend and pick up those cards so I can actually get the cards for you guys to profile, with the physical copies so you guys can actually see them. But yeah, that's going to be the goal. So that video won't be out for another couple days at least. The Sneak Peek for me is this Saturday, so hopefully it'll be up by then. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Oops, hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry, my webcam's a bit shaky because this table is a little bit wobbly, and I am recording on a laptop, if you guys didn't know that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more competitive and informative Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links are in the description as always. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!